Hello everyone, I am Sean, React to the K's channel arranger and host of Classical Composer Breaks Down the K.
Hello everyone, my name is Umu and I am React to the K's channel creator. Welcome to us doing things a little bit background. So I really wanted to approach listening to One Monster plus Infinity in the way that they kind of wrote it. I did talk to Moonshine, asked them what they prefer, whether we should listen to the title track first or whether we should listen to the two B-sides combined that become the title track. And basically we came to the consensus that either would be really, really fun. So then I left it up to our Twitter followers, and it looks like the votes for Monster Infinity first are just a tiny bit in the lead of things. Basically what we'll be doing is we'll be listening to the two B-sides, guessing how they'll be combined, and then we'll be releasing a later reaction video of us reacting to One Monster Infinity, just diving into that form, seeing how they were combined. I'm so interested in the process, the last SM song to combine two songs, I believe was Sherlock, Clue plus Note, right? So yeah, let's dive in. Apologies if I'm a little bit hoarse. It's 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm so tired.
Okay, so yet another song called Monster. I'm really Monster. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Very clear about the producer tag that time.
Oh, I'm feeling the rumbling.
Nice sort of slightly distorted block in the bass.
Boom, boom. I love how... Was not ready for the singing. Okay, there's the harmony. Ten lines, yes, King. We're bringing the claps back in. Oh, I love the fading in of the more rhythmic.
I think the bass is generally doing a Phrygian second, but there they sing a major second over it, so it gets a bit spicy.
Really cool percussion sounds. Wow, even the lyrics one is repeated throughout this entire track. I'm not used to having an actual note be the beats on 2 and 4. Wow, nice rhythm. Da 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 da. Those are those probably Adrian McKinnon harmonies.
They're already adding a descant line just in the second chorus. Something in major third briefly.
I love the, is it white noise? Sounds like walkie-talkie.
Yeah, here comes the bass. Nice little added growl, panning left and right.
The chorus is very creeping because of the intervals chosen.
I like that we get a little outro. You get to hear Okay, it's just a very low pass there, and then a couple of extra synths, or possibly just synths that were far back in the mix. I think the bass, of course, was there, and the growls were there a couple of times, and then the one sort of mid-high register I feel like was new to the outro, although maybe it was just really quiet to get out of the way of the voices before.
Oh my god, that bass sound! Listen to that. 322, 321. For it. Oh my god, so many nice sounds. I love how we, at least at the end of the first two pre-choruses, we used, I think, a variation on the bass part right before we dropped into the chorus. I'm going to double check that by starting at the beginning. Beginning 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Na, na, na. Why is it so hard for me to hear the pitches? It's because so much of the song is about texture that the texture pops out to me first before the pitches. Yeah. I think they take, because we have several layers of instruments at the very beginning when we have that main repeated ostinato, but then they only choose one of the synth sounds for the little part before we drop into the chorus. 1 minute, 3, 2, 1. Da 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 da. Yeah, because the melody da 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 da. I think the melody leaps up higher than the bass line, but they're in rhythmic unison, so you're not really ready for the sudden shift in interval.
My preliminary guess, having not heard Infinity yet, is that this supplied the verses and maybe pre-choruses. I'll need to hear that one for pre-choruses, but probably not the choruses, because the choruses of this are pretty similar to the verses, and I'm wondering if maybe they combined songs because they wanted choruses that moved further away.
Okay, we are moving on to Infinity. Really curious which chorus they went with, or if maybe they had one for the chorus and the other one for the post-chorus. 3, 2, Infinity and Beyond!
Okay, so the monster was in D and now this is in G.
And we're floating. The other one's very rhythmically driven. This so far was very floaty.
So either they're going to modulate or they're going to have one of these transposed.
Oh, I dig.
Huh, I'm actually, like a choral sound is actually kind of unusual in K-pop. Like a blaze of glory, going overdrive.
Hello, low note.
Like the neo-culture technology sounds.
I really hear tense timbre in this unison, sung unison. And Taemin and Baekhyun. Do-do-do. I love the synth in the background, melodic synth. Oh. Oh.
Yeah, I wish I could take more time to look at these individual sounds, because like as soon as I want to talk about one, there's another one I want to talk about. Moonshine really went fancy with producing a lot of different sounds for this.
Yeah, those bass glitchy synth sounds would match very well with the Monster Monster.
I like the Dorian 4 there. Also does tie it back to jumping at the 1, 6, well, flat 6 as read from major, and then 4 from major, or Dorian 4, whatever. Piano and the bridge of both.
I love this bridge. Yes, that's a bridge! Oh, that was a quick little rap.
Are we gonna get one more Baytown high note? Because I feel like we haven't gotten the really high note yet.
Is that brass? Nice. Okay, Lucas.
Oh. I like that they gave it a little cadence at the end. Cadence just in the sense of like something that sort of feels like a closing gesture. Not in the sense of, I mean, like, in terms of like the classical textbook cadences you learn, you wouldn't learn flat 2 down to 1 as a cadence, but it very clearly feels like a closing gesture, pitch-wise, when it happens. So I was expecting it to just be that just like delay petering out into the end, but I like the choice. Gives it a little more feeling of finality.
I really love how the instrumental interacted with the vocal parts, because several times throughout that I would hear a synth part begin in a specific melody, and then it would carry over into the vocals. I was actually quite overwhelmed the whole time while listening to this because there are so many layers, so many different rhythmic things going on. I really, really like this. I do like this a little bit better than Monster. Just because I think it's really creative to choose to have the choir and then just put like all the different choir notes on the keys and then play it in a certain rhythm to be part of the instrumental. And this truly felt like a PS to dropping because of that really grand orchestral choir movie type sound. But then we've got the glitchy synths and bass sounds that would connect well with Monster. 3, 2, infinity. We do have a pulse. No, we don't. Well, I think that bass hit when it changed the chord, it hit on an offbeat. But when it first starts off, there's 2 rhythmic lines going on. Otherwise, like, we just have this very spacious, drawn-out part. We have this little part, and then, yeah, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah,
Yeah, this feels very like, to the extent that Super M has established what their sound is, this feels much more like classic Super M. Like this slightly soundtrack-esque, really big, grandiose sound. Which really feels like that was a Jopping, and that feels like perhaps the thing that I associate with Super M that I don't associate with EXO or SHINee or NCT. It's a little, well, Wavy does have little bits of that on occasion, like with Moonwalk, but it's a softer soundtrack aesthetic, not such a big, grandiose one. I think it's works well, like having very much like alternation between like the instrumental does a little gesture and then gets really sparse and the vocals do something, so like it allows the sound of the instrumental to be loud because they're not having to stay out of the way of the vocals. Like they get to be heard clearly, and then instrumentals very simple for a moment to allow the vocals to happen, and then instrumental gets fancy again. And, the now familiar multi-part bridge that's in a lot of SM songs, and definitely has been characterizing Super M lately, where there'll be the vocal line bridge and then the rap line bridge, and sometimes there can also only be a dance break bridge.
Okay, we gonna go zoom now. Zoom, zoom, and beyond. Bruh. G minor.
Yeah. I was thinking a bit about the fact that there's one of them's in D and one of them's in G. I feel like they're both sort of more minor than anything else, and then occasionally they slip in a major third.
I wonder if they are going to just choose one key area and then modulate the other song to that, or if we are going to shift between.
Well, perfect fifths and fourths are close harmonically. They're not close linearly, I guess melodically.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so like moving, say, the bass ostinato from Monster either up to G or down to G will move it quite a lot higher or lower.
And that
in terms of
weird.
pitch
What if they
space.
just change both and choose a middle key?
That they could do.
But there are a lot of synth parts in both songs that have very in which they could use that to transition to.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, yeah. Well, do you want to make your guess before I say anything I heard in the teaser?
I feel like I'm just gonna butcher it, but I do feel like we are gonna get Infinity's first verse, probably as like the intro, and then we're gonna move possibly to the second half of the verse of Monster. I'm not sure how smooth that would work, but I feel like the beginning of Infinity is the sound that you would want continuing from dropping. So that's how I feel like it would be Infinity and then Monster. But then again, the song is called Monster then Infinity. I wonder if that has to do anything with the order.
I'm intentionally not responding much to the
okay, thanks.
until I say what it is. So that's why I'm just kind of flatly, okay, that's a guess. That is certainly a guess. Do you have any more guesses?
We could definitely do like the Monster pre-chorus into Infinity chorus. And then I just feel like any time that the lyrics say the word one, it will end up in the song one.
That would make sense. I don't actually know anything about that, but I agree that would make sense.
As for the bridge, I feel like they chose Infinity because the harmonized high note is just too good to leave out. Okay, those are my probably very incorrect estimates.
So I remember hearing the bass line from Monster in the teaser. So based on that, I know I heard it shift into G. I'm pretty sure I heard it shift into G, although I was like, it's a 20-second teaser, so I'm kind of guessing verse of Monster, pre-chorus could be some of both even, but like choruses I think are Infinity, although I do like your idea that Infinity is the opening, because I think Infinity sounds a lot more like what I think of Super M specifically sounding like. I mean, there's some extent that Super M sounds like every other SM boy group, or every modern SM boy group. So there's some extent that anything that sounds like NCT sounds like Super M, and anything that sounds like EXO
or Shiny sounds like
Super
Super M.
So like it's easy to listen to Monster and be like, okay, yeah, this sounds like NCT with some EXO in there, and thus sounds like Super M. But like the really grandiose quasi soundtrack elements seem like a Super M thing that's not very much in the other SM boy group. So when I hear that in Infinity, I feel like that might have been sort of meant to be the title track, but then they heard some stuff in Monster that they wanted to put in.
The bridge is going to be mostly Infinity, I think. And like Infinity already has a 2-part bridge. SM has done 3-part bridges, so I wouldn't completely rule out them putting in some of Monster's bridge and then also Infinity's bridge. It would be a very long bridge, but they've done that before. Both of them have piano in the bridge, which actually could be another argument for putting the bridges together, is like you could go with Monster's piano bridge and then into Infinity's piano bridge and then into Infinity's bridge part 2. But like they both have good distinctive sounds, but Infinity felt like there were just times I would try to talk about a sound, and then by that time could get a couple words out, 2 more new sounds would have happened, and then I just decided I couldn't talk about it.
But can we talk about Monster's chorus and how the vocal part is basically in rhythmic unison with the bass line, but it is a tiny bit dissonant? What's the intervals you're hearing?
So the bass is D D D D D D. Okay, I'm gonna sing a song about D D D E flat. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the E and the E flat clash.
Yes,
right?
that's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was getting to. Yeah, so it's the E from D. Well, they got a bunch of notes, but most closely D minor. But then the E flat from D Phrygian in the bass.
Woo! La da re re. Yeah. D.
Okay.
A C D. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
That's nice. Ooh. I think they chose that dissonant interval to help create like the really almost horror creeping sound of Monster.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
we gotta get Monster mashups.
Yeah. Triple Monster.
Okay, well, we will be diving into one Infinity Plus Monster Plus Infinity, whatever the order
Infinite
is.
Monsters.
Okay, yeah, that.
Which is SM's goal for what songs they put out.
Oh yeah, I have already talked to Moonshine. We will be doing an interview with them on all the songs they have written for Super M. So please look forward to that, everyone. And we will see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, tis Umu. 15 minutes after the Infinity Monster shoot. Sean messaged me, "Did you catch the Moonshine tag in Infinity?" And no, no, I didn't. I'm sorry, Moonshine. I've failed you. 3, 2, beginning. I caught it. No, Moonshine.